the fact of the matter is we do have more deaths with bodybuilders than we ever have. But there are a few guys out there in the industry that get praised for things that they're basically experimenting on bodybuilders, you know? And there's really no manual, there's no book that teaches people how to use steroids because technically steroids were not designed for bodybuilding.
Right.
None of them were.
Big Daddy Swolls. BDS.
What's up, everybody, to another episode of BDS TV. I'm your host, Big Daddy Swolls, and today's guest is a four-time Olympian, IFBB pro, Stan the Man McQuay. Man, this is a good dude, good friend, been around a long time, and I know he's a solid cat. Stan, how have you been, my brother?
What's up, baby?
Good to see you, man.
Long time here.
Yeah, man. So talk to me, man. What have you been up to?
Yeah, man, just raising the family right now. And, you know, I retired from bodybuilding and just really just running business, doing a lot of things, really just kind of juggling and making moves.
Man, that's crazy. So there's some people out there that probably don't know exactly what you're about, where you're from, what you do, how you came to be. I kind of want to start at ground zero, man, if you don't mind. Like where, like, you know, just because I might fill in some questions about things that I don't even know about you yet. So where are you from? And like, how was your, you know, how were you raised?
Yeah, so my background is half Japanese and half Irish. I was born in Japan. My father was in the military. You know, fast forward, pretty much raised in Los Angeles since I was, you know, really young. We got one younger brother, but yeah, raised in Los Angeles, raised as a martial artist. We did, you know, you name it. We
How'd you get into
fought.
that?
My father was into martial arts,
cool.
and so he was kind of like one of those dads that was gonna really like impose whatever he's gonna be doing, you're doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So we, you know, we just kind of adopted that martial arts lifestyle. It was like a 5-6 day a week until I was, you know, the whole time I was living at home. You know, it was really just martial arts. That's our life.
When did you start?
Started young, like around 7-8 years old.
Wow.
You know, did a little bit here. We tried different things, you know, and you know, just kind of not dedicated to one style. It was just martial arts in general. Like kind of before MMA was MMA, we studied everything.
That's actually a smart way to go.
You know,
about it. Yeah.
You know, so you know, fast forward, you know, martial arts was cool. I played sports all through high school since a child. But, you know, I was always challenged because being Asian, you know, we were always naturally just smaller, you know, I was always smaller frame. So yeah, it was. So, yeah, man. So, you know, I played football in high school, did really well, got recruited by some colleges, but like, I just wasn't big, you know? So I really started lifting weights my senior year. And that's kind of when I kind of grasped onto bodybuilding, you know, not necessarily competing, but just really into lifting weights. And I saw my body changing, you know, and then kind of bodybuilding just kind of fell into my lap.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of good. You kind of had sports to go through. Like, I mean, was it a rough childhood or was it kind of good? Like, was it like, how was your childhood?
Yeah, as I was younger, I mean, it was rough because there wasn't a lot of Asians growing up where I was at. So, you know, I got made fun of and whatnot. High school was a whole different story, though. High school, it was a little challenging for me because, you know, the high school I went to was not an easy high school to grow up at. Lots of gangs. There was lots of minorities, and you know, yes, I did fit in that aspect, but you know, the gang prevalence at that high school was pretty high. So that's, you know, I got in a lot of trouble. Let's say
you can get forced into that just by being a kid and not having your energy placed in the right places sometimes.
Absolutely.
Do you think sports helped you out with that? Like, kind of redirected you?
Sports helped me a lot. It did keep my head on straight for the most part because, you know, my father started me when I was young. High school, I was pretty good with football, but, you know, like you're a product of your environment. You know, I ended up going to a high school that I didn't really know many people. So I kind of grasped onto whoever was kind of showing me love and showing me some attention because I was always like a really shy kid, you know? So, you know, a lot of the kids at that school saw that I was a baller because I came from another high school that I got kicked out of and came to this one. So a lot of kids saw that I was a baller. So yeah, I started, you know, gaining a lot of friends that way.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help it because I grew up fighting in the martial arts,
Yeah.
lifestyle, and my high school had there's, like I said, a lot of gangs, a lot of fights.
Yeah, it was different back then. There's a lot of cliques. I'm sure
there was cliques for everything, and back then, I graduated in '91, so there was, there wasn't a lot of shooting wasn't like it is now. Now everyone just shoots, but back then, you fought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't until like I got in my first fight there where people kind of sat back and said, "Who the hell is this kid?"
Yeah.
And that's when I started hanging out with kind of the bad crowd because fighting attracted the people that like to fight.
Yeah.
You attract that energy. You know?
Yeah.
And of course, because I wanted to be liked and I wanted to try to hang with the cool crowd, and I was always shy. Started fighting, started hanging out with the gangs.
Yeah. And it's easy to reach out and touch you in those gangs because it's really inviting culture. They really are like, it kind of seems like a second family almost sometimes to it.
Yeah, absolutely. To a certain extent, they make you feel like, they got your back and they need you and whatnot. But in reality, it's pretty stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never seen a rich, gang member. I've seen some, but not, it's not like forming your own LLC or being able to, do
absolutely.
something, but in that moment, speaking to some kids right now, if you guys are even going through it, it's good to try to separate yourself from those situations. I mean, even though there are good people, there's great people in gangs. I know some really awesome gang members I'm still friends with today.
Yeah, likewise.
They're like some of the nicest people I know, but they're serious.
Right.
Not all, but I mean, a lot of them are. And, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like you see something in each other who has that spirit.
Yes.
And then it also represents, doesn't always say, because there's politics and everything, code, honor, respect. That's where we kind of, that's the foundation of it is supposed to be.
I mean,
right?
I hate to relate the two, but like, growing up as a martial artist, you have like a Bushido code. You have the 7 virtues of, of life. And it's like loyalty and all these things. And it's kind of like, I didn't really have a ton of friends as I was younger. It wasn't until I got to high school I started getting a lot of notoriety and that false feeling of family and loyalty and something that you're fighting for. That's what I fell for.
Yeah, because it's like, well, for me, I grew up in a single parent home, and she was never really around that much, and so it's like those things were my only resources. Especially as a kid, you don't have too many resources. I tell you guys that all the time. If you're coming up in the hood, you don't have too many resources to pull from, and so you're gonna get the information that's provided to you at that specific moment, and you haven't been exposed to the world yet. You only see what you see. Yes. So that could be the whole different aspect of thinking. You're kind of accidentally forced into because people don't know. They're not taught anything like LLCs and things like that in business. They're just like, go home, do your assignments, come back. And then, it's pretty repetitive, boring shit. So it's like not too many people want to participate in repetitive stuff.
But also at the same time, it's like I actually didn't grow up in poverty. I didn't grow up in a single parent home. I actually had both my parents. Oh, wow. So, people think, usually gang members are
usually
kids,
not always, but sometimes it's easier. It's more susceptible.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like my parents were there, but they, my parents were old school. They worked, jobs all day long, came home, made dinner, went to sleep early. Whereas like I didn't really have a lot of guidance in that aspect.
You were still missing it.
Yeah, I'm still missing that.
You're still missing
exactly.
That. Yeah.
So
you had to fill that void.
Right. So not to blame my parents. These were choices that I made at the time, and back then, like your family life, your parents are so busy. Sometimes they get caught up in their own life, and they don't really pay attention to really what's going on in the kids. And that's why my kids aren't going to be like that because we went through that and. All the things that I didn't have, I make sure that my kids know that there's always an outlet or they can always speak to me as a friend, even, and as a dad, as a father.
Yeah, well, I definitely see that on your posts and just being around you like this many years. I mean, shoot, man, I think I've known you for over 15 years now.
Long time.
Yeah, but I've just seen you being a great person, great individual, great father.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Great husband, great everything.
Thank you.
And I like my hat's off to you, especially. Being involved with so much stuff and how to overcome so much stuff. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a battle. It's work.
It still is.
But yes, it is. It always is. It never stops. No. Just like everything in life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So basically, how'd you eventually end up getting out of that? How did you end up pulling yourself out of those situations?
Yeah. So like my senior year, I wanted to play college ball, but I literally. I graduated all league, all conference as a tailback and free safety, undersized.
Oh man!
But started lifting weights my senior year with all my buddies that played football. My body started reacting really well. Went to community college, played some community college ball. But, that's when I kind of had an epiphany when I'm sitting on the field and realizing, man, I'm literally like 150 pounds playing college ball, and these guys are just big, and I'm just vertically challenged. I didn't have the size. I was trying to lift weights. Am I going to really keep pursuing a dream?
Right.
Of course they say never give up on your dreams, right? But you got to also be realistic with your dreams as well. So it's like, and then I started looking at statistics, of football players. What's the shelf life of a football player on average? 3, maybe 4 years, I was thinking.
Well, even if you're 32nd,
maybe.
Less.
And that's for guys that have the genetic build already. And I was already undersized, and so I started narrowing it down. How many pro football players are my size? And I literally, at the time, I think I picked out maybe 3 or 4, and they were like, running 4.3, 4.4, that type of speed. I just didn't have that even. So started lifting weights. I said, screw this. I'm going to commit to just doing what I'm doing. I'm still going to, jujitsu. I'm doing these things, but really started lifting weights. That kind of kept me off the streets for the most part.
Is that what kind of pushed you that direction?
Yeah, I started really getting hooked on that. I started hanging out with better people that were really into the gym culture.
Right.
Knew nothing about competing though. It was just lifting weights and getting big. I just, none of us were really into the bodybuilding thing. We didn't really even look at the magazines. All we cared about was bench press,
right?
Curls.
Yeah.
I really trying to build. I was building my physique for basically two reasons at that point. Since football was no longer in the picture, it was really to be able to fight and be bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the girls,
of course,
I started getting a lot more attention, really into girls. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into lifting weights.
Yeah, you kind of saw what the girls were chasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of went that way.
Yeah.
And then you start kind of forming things, and then other people, and growing up also, things tend to fall off. People start realizing their responsibilities come first, and start putting things in front of them. But I mean, for you to be able to get out of that, and, so utilize weights, the gym culture, be able to pull yourself off the streets, pull yourself away from people. Not saying that they're bad people, but they're in it.
Yes.
And most people can't see what they're in.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, all we know is we were having fun. We were enjoying it. We would go to the gym at 11 o'clock at night. It would close at midnight, so we would lift. And then we would hang out in the parking lot of the gym. We would drink 40s.
Oh, yeah?
We didn't drink protein shakes. That wasn't a thing back then.
You had a 40. What you
we had a 40.
Yeah,
we were hanging out. That was our diet,
Yeah.
So fast forward a couple years, a few buddies of mine, there was a flyer in the gym. And we didn't know nothing about bodybuilding. It was a flyer. I remember it was called Tournament of Champions. Oh, okay. But at the time, we were going clubbing. And we were thinking it's a hard body competition. You go to a club and they pull guys out of the audience and you get on the stage, take your shirt off.
Chippendale stuff.
Yeah, you win whatever they're offering, right?
Yeah.
We literally thought that's what it was.
Yeah, it could take you a while to get into those Speedos, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 4 of us that were kind of get ready for this competition amongst each other. Mm-hmm. They were already big. These guys, my buddies were already kind of big guys. I was a small guy. So my girlfriend at the time, she was working out at the local powerhouse. Mm-hmm. And I showed her the flyer, and she says, "You got to come to my gym. My gym's got big guys." So I said, "All right, I'll go." So I show up to the gym, and that's the first time I've ever seen real bodybuilders. Because even at my gym, I went to a big gym, but there was no bodybuilders. Right. It was just football players, just fitness guys.
Yeah, it's still rare. It's still rare.
I remember walking in there, and I couldn't believe when I seen these guys that looked like the He-Man dolls back then. Remember, really just jacked.
Didn't even know they existed.
I didn't even know that. I've never seen that in person. Mm-hmm. I was astonished. So I met a trainer there, and I showed him the flyer. I said, "Hey, I'm interested in maybe hiring you because I kind of want to cheat. These guys are ahead of me. I need someone to help me because I don't really know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. This guy looks at the flyer and he goes, "Oh, this is not a hard body competition. This is actual bodybuilding competition."
Oh, so you were planning on stripping?
Yeah, man. I was just gonna get on stage and take my shirt off and bounce the pecs a little bit, show the abs.
Yeah, okay.
I literally thought that's what it was, and my girlfriend's like, "Yeah, hire this guy." So I show him the flyer. He goes, "That's not what it is." I'm like, "Oh, let's come see this show." So there was a show that was coming up. Mm-hmm. Come with me on that Saturday. So I go with him. His name is Scott Marshall. He was my first trainer, first coach. He was a big guy. We go there, and I open the doors, and I'll never forget. It was in Culver City. I open the doors in this auditorium, and I seen dudes up on stage, and they were in their Speedos. What's we call them? Speedos and their chonies. I'd never seen guys in Speedos. Even when you go to the beach, guys don't wear that here in LA.
Yeah, I mean, maybe on a commercial or something.
Yeah, but it was just it's not one of those things especially how I was raised, and no one wore
baggy
no shit.
pants.
We wore baggy size 50 jeans.
Yep.
I'm not gonna wear no Speedo. So I'm sitting there like kind of in disgust. Going, what the hell? There's no way in hell I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm doing that. I'm just watching it. And lo and behold, there was a production crew that was there filming the competition. And it was ESPN. ESPN back in the day in the 90s, early 2000s, they used to have a monthly show called American Muscle.
Wow.
Remember that show?
Yeah.
It was featuring bodybuilding. It was mostly like...
I didn't know that was ESPN though.
Yeah,
But I remember it.
It was on ESPN. So they were there and they happened to see me and my buddy watching the show. And I think I had like a tank top on or something. And they see me and they came up to me. And it was Lou Swick, who's throws a big federation called Muscle Mania, Fitness America. They came up to me and said, "Dad, do you compete?" I said, "No, that's not my thing." They're like, "You don't compete? Yeah, you have a great physique." I'm like, "Nah, I'm not getting on stage like that." You would never consider it? Not really. I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my thing. So they said, if you're interested, we think we have a good route for you where you can possibly make some money. Make some money.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first time I ever heard anything like that. So
Cha-ching.
they said, yeah, if you're interested, come to Venice Beach. On Venice Beach, they have an outdoor gym right on the boardwalk. So for people that don't know, I'm sure you've seen it in commercials. Muscle Beach, exactly. Come here at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I was like, all right, I'll come. I show up there, and there was two other bodybuilders there, and I'll never forget. His name was Rich Jones, was one of the guys that was there.
Magic?
Rich Jones, you know?
Rich Magic Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were there. They were big. You know, I was this little rip guy. And they said, hey, can you do some stuff on camera? And they had all these cameras here just like this, and I didn't know what to do. I did some martial arts. They said, you can't do any bodybuilding posing. I said, I don't know what that is. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. They were correcting me on posing. Fast forward. That was fun. I had a lot of great time. So they called me that night, and they said, you did really well. You look really good on camera. Would you be interested in competing? We already asked you about that, but we have another federation, okay, that's only for natural bodybuilders. Okay? I said, well, what does that mean? I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. They said, well, natural and steroids. If you notice at the show you were at, those guys were really big. Most of them are probably on anabolics. I said, no, that's not my thing. I don't really want to get that big. Well, this is perfect then. Now that you said that, we have a natural federation. You can compete naturally. You don't have to take the drugs, and everyone gets tested.
Right.
I said, I don't know. Let me think about it. They literally sent me a contract on that Monday. I read it through. I would be going on circuit. I'd be committing to compete with Muscle Mania, and I would also be one of the co-hosts on the show that I was just on. They really wanted me to be a co-host.
That's cool.
On the show. It was like, wow, man. Like literally, they offered me a contract. I would be making money before I even stepped on stage. Thought long and hard. Got an attorney. My parents looked at. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. And I never turned back. You know, I literally jumped on stage, and from that day on, I was kind of hooked.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't win, but like because I didn't win, I'm like, I want to win. I know what I want to do.
That's things, right?
Yeah,
it's like a sting of energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, you're nervous as hell. You got to wear that little Speedo and get on stage. But once you're up there and you did your homework, you know, nothing feels better than having everyone go crazy over all the hard work you did. You get to show off what you've put in your body. And that's kind of where it started in '97. And I literally competed straight. I might have taken a short break. I competed from '97 till 2016.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember you, and then you also had a little rival going on you built up too with, what was his name? Is it Tito? Tito.
Yeah, it's funny because, Tito at the time was like the up and coming bodybuilder. He too was on Muscle Mania Federation. He was in all the magazines.
Yeah.
I was starting to do some magazine stuff.
Yeah.
He was from the East Coast. I was from the West Coast. And they started like, I don't know. I don't know how it started, but like I think amongst the fans, really, they started talking some hype. And he was like the guy I always wanted to like go against and compete against.
Yeah, because it turned into a big thing.
Yeah, and we ended up finally competing against each other. It was like 2000. And I won Mr. USA on that. And so that was pretty fun.
In your face, Tito. I love you, bro. I'm just kidding. So basically, how did you eventually, obviously you got to the IBB, So how did you transfer into that?
So what happened was I stuck with the Natural Federation, and at that time it was literally, I would say, probably the hottest federation of all bodybuilding, even the IFBB, because we were on TV. We were the only ones that were getting our competitions aired on television.
That's crazy.
And I was not only winning shows in the States, but I was traveling around the world. I was competing in Italy, Budapest, you name it. I was traveling around the world and promoting bodybuilding. Compete. I ended up turning pro in the Natural Federation. Went against some big name guys, but I still had that itch because the magazines were still showing the steroid guys, and I just wanted to know how I would stand against one of those guys. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave the federation, the Natural Federation. I'm gonna enter an NPC show. NPC is the amateur show that I went to initially to check out.
Yeah, that was Tournament of Champions.
Yes.
Yeah, they
So
still
I-
have it today, right?
Yes, they
still,
do.
They still have it.
So I had to enter a local show, which I qualified, and I went right to the USA, which is the basically national championship. And I ended up taking fourth, my first shot, clean, no steroids.
That's huge.
And but I remember seeing all the guys backstage from the magazines. I mean, they knew who I was from the TV show, but like, it was pretty cool to be backstage and amongst the best.
Yeah.
Well, I thought long and hard. I think that at that point I was about 25 and 26. I was still in school studying kinesiology, and I really started studying steroids and started really studying what it does, because I saw standing next to these guys. I know I looked good, but I was just missing a few things that anabolics I knew was providing for them, and that was the hardness of the muscle, the more fullness, just bigger all around. So I said, you know what? I'm going to commit. I'm already this far in. I want to give it a shot. And that's kind of how I fell into bodybuilding / anabolic steroids. And that's when I really started studying. I became a student of getting ready for shows using anabolics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bro, you looked crazy, from the level you were probably at to the level you went to. I mean, it was insanity. I mean, I heard about you before I even got to LA. I heard about you. You were in some pictures in some little home wall gym.
Right,
and,
right.
My buddies were talking about you, and yeah, man, your name was up there for a while before I think it was I even heard about you 5 years before I even got to LA.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember being at that same show, the USA, which was in Vegas. It was a pretty prestigious show. And I didn't know a lot of the pros, but I met a lot of them there, and they were they thought I was pro because they had seen me on TV.
Yeah.
Why, how am I in so many magazines at that time?
Right.
I was already shooting publications. I already had sponsors as an amateur. So I was one of the first amateurs at that level, making, I was making almost 10 grand a month at 26 years old.
And money like that now is times 4 what it is right now.
Not even as IFBB pro. I was only an NPC athlete
That's
too.
crazy.
So my aspirations at that point was I was going to leave the Natural Federation. I gave up my pro status so I can start over, work my way up, which took me quite a while.
Yeah.
Because becoming pro in IFBB back then was probably one of the hardest things to do in any sport.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I committed. It took me another 6 years of competing before I actually got my pro card in 2006.
Wow, man. And that's a tough journey. I know I'm still competing for mine. So,
Yeah, so you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
you know how it is.
I'm 12, 13 shows in or something like that.
Man.
trying to get it. Yeah, but it's tough to get. So that you guys just having your pro card, it's a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
For bodybuilding, it's a very, very prestigious title to have. And
it's
my hats off to anybody.
Yeah, for bodybuilding, it's like our credentials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like having a master's in whatever, That's what IFBB pro card, that's how you can kind of contribute it to.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now we look pretty healthy. We're doing our thing. There's no issues, as for anabolics right now so far, that I can tell. What do you think is got these people so wrapped up in talking bad, doctors coming on, saying these people should be arrested for, telling people how to take steroids or anything like that. What is your takes on that? Because for me, it's not accurate.
Well, it's hard to say because if we fast forward to now, times like now, I mean, the fact of the matter is we do have more deaths with bodybuilders than we ever have. But there are a few guys out there in the industry that get praised for things that they're basically experimenting on bodybuilders, and there's really no manual. There's no book that teaches people how to use steroids because technically steroids were not designed for bodybuilding.
Right.
None of them were.
Yeah, like horses.
Exactly. Some of them are vet. Others are made for particular diseases or issues that someone might have that they're deficient in, but not for bodybuilding. So there's no real way to kind of determine. It's kind of all bro science is what we call,
Yeah.
So just like with anything, bodybuilding, we all want to be big, right? And a lot of the guys, attribute, a little bit did this, so maybe if I take more, it'll do this. And we all know that more does not equal bigger or better.
No.
And so what I feel there's a lot of these coaches out there that don't have a lot of experience, but they might have gotten lucky with someone they experimented on. They take that same protocol and they'll give it to another athlete or another person, and probably fuck some of these people up
Big time.
But at the same time, most of these bodybuilders, you're an adult. I mean, you know what you're getting yourself into, so you can't necessarily blame the coach.
I wouldn't say blame them. No, I mean, I could say if like you're unexperienced and you're trying to give people diets, I think that's a no-no. I don't think you should be even touching a person's, if you don't know how to look at lab work, if you don't know how
Absolutely.
to, win a show. I mean, and like for some of these people that do actually get lucky, sometimes sometimes it's just like the show, no one showed up to compete against them really, that like, would do well
Win
against
by
them.
default.
Win by default, or they wouldn't even listen to their coach and they would go through somebody else and do their own thing.
Yes.
And carry their name. Sometimes people will just come in and just claim something, just so they can boost up their numbers.
Of course.
And there's also some dietitians out there that, have cookie cutter diets that just send the same diet to a bunch of people too, know? And it's a hard thing to do because as a competitor, you never know if you're getting the right treatment sometimes, unless the coach is one-on-one with you. I mean, for me personally, I don't think a coach could diet down more than 3 people per show. I mean, personally, and show them the love and, the energy that they need to focus to be the absolute best on it. I mean, for you to be a dietitian and do, 10 competitors into one show, I just kind of think that's overkill. And I don't think.
No, absolutely. Because, fast forward now, that's what I do now. So I am a coach. I run a prep team.
You did my diet.
Yeah, that's right. You
stuck with me.
My bad. I'm sorry.
You did my first show.
Yeah, I did. I did your first show.
And,
that's right,
and guess what?
Yes.
We won, baby.
That's right. I do remember that. We ended up going to nationals too, right? That's right.
Yeah, went to nationals right after that.
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you came out there with me, bro.
Right.
Yeah, you forgot about that, huh?
Yeah, man, I remember all that now. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom crazy.
Yeah, that was fun, man. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so what are your thoughts on basically, these people bashing steroids, like these people, these crazy people? Because for me, it's like, all right, yeah, you're a doctor, and these people are coming to see you because they're fucked up. But they're only coming to see you because they're fucked up. That's not the majority of it. Like for me, I never thought steroids were even that bad. As long as you were just monitored and your body could accept them. Some people can't accept them. Some people don't process steroids properly, have way more side effects. Some people shouldn't be on them. But, then there's that extreme aspect of it where people just go super crazy, try to just do so much stuff. And then, you're going to run into problems. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like as far as doctors bashing it or whatever?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I mean, I definitely don't condone it. We're not going to sit here and say, "Hey, kids, you should be using steroids."
No,
and
never
whatnot.
that.
Of course
No,
not.
no,
Of course not.
never that.
But I mean, I think there's a documentary out called "Bigger, Faster, Stronger," and if people actually really want to know about anabolics, you should watch that video because steroids has gotten a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, people used to think it was like heroin or something
Yeah,
like that. They thought it was like drugs.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Worse.
I mean, it is a drug, and yes, it could kill you, but anything can kill you.
Yeah, but it's not recreational.
Exactly.
They made it seem like it was like people do this to get high, or you take a shot and you're gonna go pick up a car and throw
Right.
it at
It's
somebody.
nothing like that at all.
Yeah,
it's nothing like that at all.
There's just, but it drives attention. It drives
Yes.
the media. It drives the clicks. It's
Yes.
clickbait. It's all this extra stuff that like
Right.
everyone puts a 10 on it too. Even all the news people, everyone puts a 10 on it too.
Yeah, of course.
So that's
I think there's a time and place for it. If someone is interested in using anabolics, I would suggest studying and speaking to as many people as you can before you cross that line. Really, if you want to do steroids, the smartest thing one could do is constantly get blood work.
Yeah.
Because you might look amazing on the outside, but you're taking steroids, and if you're not understanding how to use them properly, or you're staying on them for too long, you look amazing on the inside, but you're pretty much going to be corroded on the inside, is like the way I say it.
Yeah.
So blood work is absolutely important. Getting with someone that really knows, that's been there, done that,
That cares.
that
That has to care.
Yes,
The
that
dietitian
understands.
has to care.
Yeah. So if you're going to take steroids and say you're going to be working with a coach, and they're not immediately telling you to get your blood work done, go the other way.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're talking about.
If they're not calling you, giving you one-on-one love,
Absolutely.
respect, support, showing, if you just got a guy you just text and then they throw back an email and they throw back an email or they throw back an email. I mean, you want the guy, like my man Stan right here, he would call me every day, check on me every day,
Yes.
So
Right.
like you want someone like that, regardless or not whether you're going to win every show. If you can find a dietitian that's good and it's there for you. That speaks way more volumes than anyone who's just going to take you on, throw you in the back of an email list, and just, spend 2 minutes and throw you an email.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's my personal opinion. And it's like, it's also can be a rough sport too. I mean, there's things that happen in the sport that aren't exactly, good. Do you want to talk about any kind of stories that you kind of ran up on without, putting people underneath the bus? Because we don't do that here. We don't. One thing we do is we don't gonna put anyone underneath the bus because we don't want to give them clout anyways. But I mean, is there anything
I'm trying to think. I mean, I've been in this for so long. There's a lot. It's just a matter of what do I want to touch on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to. But
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe if something comes along the way that I can throw it out there. But like, yeah, there's tons of stories. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, it's just I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything like that. Good. But I just want anything like life lessons or anything like that. Possibly being able to learn. Like for me, losing a show. Especially being young, that was really hard on me. Like very hard, especially when you train all year. You work your way up to a certain point, and you got 10 minutes. If that on stage, 10 to 5 minutes on stage, and the whole year could pretty much feel like it's been ruined.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's happened to me a bunch of times. Like, was just all hyped up and ready to rock, and you get to that moment, and then boom, one little thing could mess it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing for sure is, we live in a society where a lot of people want things instant. They want things fast.
Yeah.
And that bodybuilding is for sure guaranteed not one of those sports that happens like that.
No.
It doesn't matter how much steroids you take, how much food, if you're training 10 times out of 7 days a week, you're not going to just get bigger that way. It doesn't happen that way. It takes time, Like the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, literally the same with your body. It literally takes time, effort, motivation. It takes all these things and to never give up and to really build on your physique. So I tell guys all the time, if you're just getting into bodybuilding, you cannot expect to look like one of these guys in the magazines in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. None of these guys got there that fast. None of them. We're talking 10 plus years. If you're in your early 20s, you're not going to look like the guys that are in the magazines because they're not in their 20s. These guys are in their 30s and 40s, and your body really doesn't stop really maturing and growing until you're in your mid 30s, late 30s. That's when you start looking your best.
Yeah.
So I tell guys all the time, especially the young guys, more is not better.
Yeah.
It does not work like that. I promise you.
Yeah. Healthy is better.
Healthy is better. Longevity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you can compete up into your late 40s if you're careful. If you're careful. Look at Dexter Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number
one bodybuilder in the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to give it to him, right? I mean, how many pro shows did he do? 27, 28?
I don't know how many he won, but
I think he won a lot.
Some people like to argue with me on this, but Dexter Jackson is the number one bodybuilder in the world. I don't care what anyone says. He didn't win Olympia. He's won more shows.
Olympia.
Oh, I'm sorry. He did win Olympia. Even though he didn't win these long, 4 or 5 amount of Olympias.
More than any of the pros.
Man, this guy was so damn consistent, and to look at what he came from, he's not naturally a big guy. He's my favorite. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely the best arguer in the world. He can definitely argue. He talks more shit than anybody else.
Shout out to Dex.
I love Dexter, man. I love you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But you know how it goes, man. So talk to me about now, man. So you've been transitioning through. What was your last bodybuilding show?
Yeah, so my last show was in Dominican Republic. I won Victor Martinez promoted a show in Dominican Republic for the classic physique. So I flew over there with intentions of it being my last show. And if I won, I would have qualified for my 5th Olympia. So I ended up winning the show. I qualified for my 5th Olympia, but I thought now's the time to hang it up. I competed almost 30 years.
You went to Classic after that, right?
Yes, I went to Classic. So
that was the last one, and when you competed in Classic.
Absolutely. It's like, this is the way to retire on top. Even knowing that I could go to the Olympia if I want, but I've already been to 4, put that in the back pocket, and that was it.
Most people would have gone.
Most people would have gone. Most people said, "Oh, you took a spot or whatever." But hey, man, this is my life. This is my career. I don't care what you think.
Yeah. Okay, so during that time, like if you don't mind, you trained some serious people. It wasn't just me you trained. You trained some serious cats.
Yeah.
Like upper echelon, top of the food chain, celebs.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Do you want to talk on any of that?
What's up, everyone? This is Stan McQuay. I hope you're enjoying the podcast here on BDS TV. If you want to get at me, you can reach me on my Instagram on StanManMcQuay. Or if you want to get in the best shape of your life, go to physiqueincteam.com. Links below. Yeah, so I've been training clients since 98, 97, 98. Slowly built a good rapport amongst people. I strongly feel a lot of these things are being in the right place at the right time. I worked out of Los Angeles in Woodland Hills, and in Woodland Hills was Weider Publications. So Weider Publications, they used to put out Muscle and Fitness magazine, Flex magazine, Men's Health. So that being said, most of the people on the staff, they worked out at Powerhouse. So they saw me in there all the time. That's part of the reason why I was always getting a lot of print work, because they always saw me always in shape. They liked my look, so that's why you saw me in every magazine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we did have a lot of celebrities that worked out. So as the years, I built my name up. A lot of people saw me in the magazine, so I started getting hit up by random celebrities. And one of the big ones that I actually put me on the map for the celebrity training was Dr. Dre.
Yes, that was big.
Yeah, that was fun. I traveled with Dr. Dre for a couple years.
That's cool.
Got him ready when he won his induction to the Hall of Fame through MTV. He won a Lifetime Achievement Award.
That was you.
Yeah, for those of you that saw him get that award years back,
he had that tight shirt.
Tight shirt. Yeah,
I seen him. I was like, this guy.
Yes,
this guy looks really good.
Yeah, so that was fun. That kind of put my name on the map for training. From there, it kind of just turned into a flood. I worked with Vin Diesel, George St. Pierre, who was the UFC world champion, Exhibit, you name it, quite a few, a good amount of people.
Yeah, you had a story about going and you saw Dr. Dre, Eminem, and 50 Cent in the studio.
Oh my God, yeah. So that was a highlight, another highlight of just my life. I remember being with Dre. He said, "Hey, you want to come to the studio and hang out?" And I had never said no to that. Yeah, sure. Come through. I got a surprise. And I walked in the studio just like this, and Eminem was sitting there by himself. And I felt like, what the hell? He's looking at me like, who the hell is this big guy? I walked in, I just sat down over there, and then the other door opened up. 50 Cent came in, and then Dr. Dre. So it was literally just those three and me. Like a fly on the wall. I just sat there and I just watched. I didn't know what to do, man.
That's the height of
those
guys.
Absolutely. This is when he had In the Club out, 50 Cent. Eminem was hot. Dre was, still working on his album. Yeah, I got to be a part of that. They were collaborating on really trying to get Dr. Dre's album finished. Yeah. Which he never did.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, maybe he did. He's just not letting people know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Right.
But there was a story you told me where you were just like in there and, you did the...
Yeah, I remember 50 Cent, he walks in and, he was working out a little bit at that time. He sees me and he's like, I see him say something to Dre, who the hell is that guy? So he comes over to me trying to size me up. And I just kind of punk me, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, what you got over there? And I pulled my shirt up and he was like, oh, damn, Yeah, that was like, and I got a picture with him. That was like
That's
that was
cool,
a good moment.
That's a good moment. I mean, because they're never in the same area at once, right?
Well, he told me, Dre said, this is the first time. It might not be another time where just the three of us are together.
Wow.
I was like, really? You've never been together? Just the three of you? He says, never just the three of us.
That's the schedule.
Yeah.
Like, those guys
I was like, damn.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a monumental moment in time.
Yes.
So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So okay, so you transitioned into, you're done competing, right? And then now, where have you been doing? What have you been up to? What are things? How was that transition? Was it hard to give up? Did it feel like you were kind of left out? Was it a different kind of move?
Well, I tell you what, it's always hard as an athlete. Mm-hmm. It's always hard to just walk away from all you know or what you love. Mm-hmm. But at the time, my wife and I, we were raising kids, and I kind of made an agreement with her that at some point, you got to hang it up. How long am I going to keep, not just going through the drag of the eating and the dieting, but taking the steroids, just like we talked about. How long are you going to keep doing that for? Right. How much higher do you want to go? Obviously, we all want to be the best. I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. But at the same time, this is where a little bit of rationalization needs to come in. It's the same thing that I had when I was on the football field, looking at these guys going, I'm not going to be able to compete with these guys,
Well, you look pretty good, Stan. I mean,
yeah.
There was,
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
The Winter Pro show, bro.
You're right about that. But I'll tell you what, when you're at the top, and I'm talking about the Olympia.
You were at the top.
I took 7th twice in the 212 division. And
wait, so you were top 10.
Top 10.
I'm not even gliding over that. Like, I'm going to be sure that I hammer that nail in. Top 10 Olympian bodybuilder for the 212 category. That is impressive, folks. Top 10 bodybuilder in the world.
It's funny because times. All my friends had to keep pound. They pound that in my head. Bro, you realize you were number 7 in the world for that. So that that was quite an achievement. But what I'm saying is, when I was standing, just like when I was on the football field, when I was standing backstage, and I remember looking at the 6 guys that were in front of me, and I was just analyzing, I could probably beat these 3 that are in front of me, give or take on any given day. You know, maybe I might be a little better, he might be a little off. I can for sure beat these 3, maybe 4 guys. But the top guy at the time was Flex Lewis. Shout out to Flex Lewis.
Oh, man, yeah.
Flex Lewis, I remember him standing there, and I was looking him up and down, and I couldn't believe the way he had these muscle insertions, you know? And that's when I realized, again, this is one thing where at this level, we all train really hard. Every one of us. We all eat pretty much the same amount of food. We all take the same drugs. You know, what's the missing thing? You know, we all have the same drive. The missing thing is the genetics.
Yes.
Genetics is the thing that sets you apart from everything else in every sport. Why isn't it like in basketball? Everyone's excellent, but how come Jordan, how come Kobe were so much better? Because genetically, they just had that in them. Why is Tiger?
It wasn't just height. It was, you know,
Absolutely. Or why is Tiger Woods? Why was he so much better? Every sport, there's that small group. And I'm not saying I wasn't a part of that, but I realized that I'm not going to beat his genetics. I couldn't take any more steroids. I couldn't eat any more food. I couldn't train any harder.
Without causing health problems.
So that's when I realized I'm probably not going to beat this guy. And you know, you're always taught never give up and always never give up on your knees. But again, this is where many bodybuilders need to be rational.
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? And I said, I don't think it's worth it anymore. You know, I'm not going to be able to make any more money. I'm already making good money. I'm already in the magazines. Every magazine I've been on the cover of already. You know, so what more can I squeeze out of bodybuilding?
Right.
You know, so that's when I decided, you know, I'm going to transition out. It's probably one of the hardest things to do, not just to walk away from the competitive aspect, but what do I do with my body? You know, I spent so much time, you know, as a bodybuilder, most bodybuilders can understand we want to be big all the time, you know. We feel good when we're in the gym. You can walk around, we can lift a lot of weights. And that's kind of like a side effect of being on anabolics because it makes you feel amazing. You're like this.
Yeah, like when you say amazing, it's like you're 18, 20. It makes you feel like you're consistent.
Yes.
That's why I personally think, at a certain, like my personal opinion, I think it's great to be running small amounts after your testosterone naturally starts decreasing. I always thought it was something you should do.
Yeah, that's where the doctors should be promoting. You know, I mean, there's a small select few doctors that are actually promoting the proper way. There is a time and place for anabolics. You know, if you guys are, you know, over 30, you really should sit down with an educated doctor that really knows about testosterone or TRT.
Spends time on it.
Yeah, that understands that. You know, usually if you're 35 and over, you're probably not going to be producing testosterone like you were when you're 20. So if you were deficient in iron, when you take iron, if you're lacking vitamin C, when you take vitamin C. So if your testosterone is low, which most men, it's going to be low, why not take testosterone, you know, the proper way?
It makes sense. I mean, like, why wouldn't you? But like I said, it's so frowned upon. Still, it's got a bad name. Still, people are looking on it. But I mean, like, and not too many. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, people are starting to talk about it a little bit more.
I mean, most of the people that are going to talk shit and talk down about it are they don't understand. They're insecure themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so they just need something to talk shit about.
Or push business towards them.
Or that too,
yeah,
right.
Or, you know, just a lot of it is like, you got to watch those corners of hate and everything. Because, I mean, that runs prevalent everywhere.
Yeah, they'll draw you in and pull you down. Yep.
Yeah. I want to talk about sponsors. I want to talk about sponsors next. What's the difference between sponsors today and sponsors back in the day where you were from? Like, you know, when you were competing actively, what's the major difference in them?
Well, you know, I can tell you right now, the biggest change in probably most industries has been the introduction of social media. So social media has helped a lot of aspects of a lot of things. You know, accessibility of things. Everyone's become smart because of social media. You can have access to educate yourself.
Or think they
do. Yeah, sometimes it's too much, right?
You get a lot of bad information. There's a lot of bad information on social media. Like a lot. You know, drink this tea. You'll have a
every other day. It's like, you know, vitamin C is bad for you. The next day, vitamin C is good for you. You know, drink too much water will kill you. It's like, you hear all these things, but back to the topic of, you know, social media. So back then, sponsorships were paying. You know, you could actually make a career and a living off of bodybuilding because, like I said, I can attest to it. You know, my highlight of my career, you know, as just a bodybuilder, as my side gig, as sponsorships, I was probably making about $18,000 a month on sponsorships, and that's just to lift weights, take pictures.
That's great. That's especially back then. That's like at least 50 grand now.
Nowadays.
What's up, everybody? I'm Big Daddy Swolls. Hopefully you're enjoying your entertainment on BDS TV. If you are, please make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe so you guys can be the first to be notified about new content that's released. Also, be sure to check out my website, my music page, my social media platforms, and a merchandise store, all listed on the links below.
That's just not happening nowadays. The new word is ambassador. Ambassador is these companies will come
Discount
on.
codes.
Yeah, they're not going to pay you a monetary number anymore. They're just going to give you product, give you a discount code. And a lot of kids, there's tons of kids out there that'll grab a hold of that and they'll take that. So
because they feel like they're a part of something. But
Yeah.
and at the end of it, it's like you're not only like, I hate to be a hater on companies, and say that, but as a business standpoint, you should value who you are and not accept something that you can go make, standing in front of Home Depot in one day or something like that.
Yes.
Like, value your work ethic, value what you put in, value the stuff that you're putting in your body. Need I say more? And like what you're giving up, what you're sacrificing. Is that really worth $300 or discount code to put in front of all your people? Is it worth it? Would you consider it worth it?
For me, I understand, the kids that are up and coming, it's hard to tell a kid, don't take that deal.
But
it's hard to tell someone that, but at the same time, the companies, a lot of times it's the companies, I agree. They know they know where they can squeeze out of kids now.
Oh yeah. And like as a business owner, and we're both business owners. I just feel like, yeah, they can reach more people. That's a business standpoint. That's very smart for a company. Very smart. I agree with it 100%. But as being exploited yourself, because you are being exploited, and being exploited is not a good thing, just in case you guys know. Even though you work for exploitation, it's a trade-off. Your privacy leaves and your income is supposed to get higher. Your privacy is being exposed for nothing.
Correct.
They're supposed to be a trade-off from being exploited all the way, in.
Yes.
The reason why these celebrities are willing to take that deal, they can go get those houses, they can go build up those big fences, they can hire these chauffeurs, they can get the security, you're out here trying to exploit yourself for free. That's my personal standpoint on it. Because like for me, I won't move my feet for $300.
Right.
There's no way. I have dinners for $300, bro.
Right.
I spend $300 going to the gas station.
Right.
So for me, it just doesn't make sense. But how do you feel about, without hating on any companies, because your companies are smart, and I appreciate it. And I know these little kids ain't gonna listen to shit anyways. But I'm being honest. Like it is different. What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think that there's anything that should change on that, or do you think it is what it is?
I think it is what it is at this point. Because not even just in our industry, I see it, across the board. Really, it's
everything's free, pretty much.
Yeah, people got to figure out other ways to make money, how to make a living, and that's just how it is right now.
But because I remember Jay telling me he would take his posters and he would send them to every single show to be a guest poser. That guy's a business mogul. Like that guy, like every time I talk to him, I'm trying to pull some kind of like idea from him or something.
That's kind of like what I did. Like when I was an amateur, I remember going to the Olympia and going to the Olympia Expo and seeing all the booths. And I was just walking around and just thinking, man, what do I have to do to get behind that booth and have people waiting in line and these guys are making money and all the girls are gawking at him. All the guys are just jocking them, whatever, And so I remember the next Olympia I come to, I'm going to put together, no one told me to do this. I put together my own press packets.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'd get the little manila envelope and I would put my picture on there and I put
accomplishments, titles.
Yeah, kind of like a resume. And I literally went to every booth and I said, who's the marketing person here? And gave him my thing. And that's how I hustled. That's how I was making that money at that age.
Not too many people do that.
Right.
Yeah. It's also, you guys, there's so much money out there as far as these supplement companies go. They have to sponsor people. They're not telling you that, but if you come to them with an idea that's going to help brand their company or a following or something like that, these companies that make millions and billions of dollars, they're looking for tax write-offs. Every successful business has to spend money, you guys. Don't forget that. Every business does, because it's either that or they give it to the government or they find a way to put it back into marketing somehow. And do you want to be part of that marketing package? I would say yes. Most of you guys are, but nowadays it costs more. It takes more than just a social media following.
Oh yeah,
you
still
have to have
hustle.
something behind that.
Yes.
You have to merge a talent or something behind that. So, I mean, would you agree on?
Well, yeah, I think at this point now, like, when social media first, the inception of it, a lot of these companies saw, man, I can grab these good looking dudes that no one knows, but man, they can give me the same type of content for nothing.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to realize that they have nothing behind them though. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like, okay, so like, let's just say you go to the Jay Cutler's booth, right? Even still today. And I tell this all the time. I was like, you go to Jay Cutler's booth, there is a line like for days, like sometimes all the way to the end of the doors sometimes, just for Jay, all right? That's just for Jay. Then you got someone who comes along with a shitload more followers than Jay and has got 0 people waiting in line to take a picture with him. 0 following. Like there's a following, but it's 0 fans, I
mean, to there is an exception to that too.
Exceptions.
You're absolutely right. But let's rewind a little bit. When social media first came, like when Instagram was first hot, I remember I was with my wife. We were at one of these expos, and there was a few bodybuilders, our friends, that normally would have these long lines, and they didn't have that many. And I remember trying to make it through. What the hell is this line for?
Right.
I go to the front of the line, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, you don't know who that is? That's John Smith from Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, who the hell is that? And
Yeah,
I
what does
go
he
and I'm
do?
like,
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing.
He just takes cool pictures, That's kind of like the phase it went through, you know?
It's still, they're still kind of there.
It's still kind of there.
Yeah.
I think it's starting, the masses are starting to realize that all this guy is just a social media guy.
Well,
He's not a
especially now,
credentialed
the
bodybuilder.
filters, everyone's got a filter now. They can just put it on. They can make you seem like, you are what you are. I mean, for me, it's like, I always value talent over a following. Okay, let's just, I hate to go back to Jay so much, or even you. Let's just say that's you. Like, you're someone I will call up and talk about a business structure or a plan or offer something more than just, yo, man, I took a cool picture.
Right.
I know there's so many people out there with millions of followers that aren't making anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no money like involved with that.
Right.
I mean, they're just like free exploitation, just gone.
Right.
But like someone like Stan, I could sit here and I could talk about how I create an idea, an investment, capital use, anything that we want to portray or put towards something, we can do it. There's not too many bodybuilders that are focusing on the business aspect of this. It's just like, now it's like you have to create everything, hence the studio, hence the music, hence the everything that we put ourselves in front of. It's so much more of a package you have to bring to the table. You have to be able to bring all this in and then take it to someone and then say, look what I can do. So it's not just so much,
Yeah.
You feel me? So like Jay or you, like very, very small select few have a lot of money. Very small select few have, and it's not just the people that win titles. Right. It's not just the people that win titles. Some of those people will get their money, but half of that's gone to taxes. And if they're married, that's alimony right there. Or ex-wife type stuff. Whatever kind of bills, man, you got some trouble. I mean, what's $200,000 in LA? I mean, that's like what's that, rent for a year? What I'm saying? Like, that's not gonna do anything. $400,000. I look at them, I'm not trying to say it's not anything, but it's not gonna. You can't retire.
Really, a millionaire does not have the same meaning, especially here in big cities like Los Angeles, New York, Florida. My millionaire is like almost like average income now.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, especially if you bought a house like 15, 20 years ago, you've already made $1 million out here. So you're just going, you pull your equity out of it. They got $1 million to invest everywhere. Right. But it's still just so. And that's just one of those things that I've always admired about you, Stan. Like, you're one of the guys that knows how to maneuver your way through things, and you're still very successful, and you're still moving. And you've had that trait since what? Since you were in high school?
I always had a business mind, and I always looked at bodybuilding as it's my hobby that I happen to make money at. I never threw all my eggs in and was like, this is what I do. I'm a pro bodybuilder, and that's it. Yeah. I always, even to the very end, bodybuilding was like third, fourth down the line.
It's just a part of it.
Yeah, just a part of it, And the reason why I was able to stay so long is because I always looked at it like that. I still had to have fun with it.
Yeah, but you also didn't overkill your body. You didn't consistently always compete, did you? Because I mean, there's times where you took some time off.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, at some point, I was only doing maybe 1-2 shows a year, just to really stay prevalent. But I was still staying on top of staying in shape.
You're still staying known.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you didn't overkill your body like some of these people would just go years and just pound and pound and pound and pound without taking any breaks.
Right.
So I mean, that's part of the thing about longevity as well, you guys. Me personally, I would say take a break. I mean, I took 6 years off from bodybuilding.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I took 6 years off. Well, 3 was forced because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then, I got a little worried when everyone started dying, Shout out
Yeah.
Dallas, Rich,
Yes.
Cedric, all the dope,
Right.
dope people that we know. Shout out, man, blessings. But, that was kind of scary for me too. But at the same time, it's like, I took 6 years off. I monitor myself pretty well. I can take in this stuff without having any kind of major side effects besides, looking good.
Right.
It makes me look good. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, bro, I'm good. You know how it goes, man.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I look at like not necessarily the competing aspect, but like bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is not necessarily competing. It's what you're doing in the gym. I'll never stop doing that.
Yeah.
That's why I put in so many years, and I just don't want to let go of that.
Well, why would you want to wither away?
Yeah.
Why would you want that feeling anyways?
No, I mean,
who
not to hate
wants
on, not to talk shit about some of our homies, but like I always ask the same thing, like, why did you stop?
Yeah.
You're not even like nothing's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, you enjoy having your gut out to here, and or having your pecs now look like tits, or whatever. I just don't understand that.
At least hold it together.
Yeah,
it's not wrong with taking a little bit. Hold your body together. Don't be throwing your belly over your shoulder. Let the chicken grease off your thumbs.
Fool, man.
We don't want to see that, man. You don't feel comfortable taking your shirt off.
Right.
I mean, unless you got a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can be like those, those guys in the back of, wet, like,
Yeah. Funny, man.
So, but okay. So talk to me more about, what else you're doing right now. You're doing diets, right? You got any competitors coming up underneath that you want to shout out? That you want to put out there?
So my company is Physique Inc. So
Okay.
Physique Inc. What we do is we do online coaching, nutrition for people that want to be in the best shape of their lives. So our niche is bodybuilding. We all know that if you want to get on a serious diet for anyone that wants to see results, doesn't matter who you are, whether you're man, woman, fat, skinny, whatever, a bodybuilder diet will really get you that look much faster. Yes, it is a little more extreme, but that's the type of clientele we want. We want people that, if you want to be aggressive, you want to get from A to Z the proper way and a little bit faster than normal, that's what we do. So we help people get in the best shape of their lives,
Yeah, and you care.
And we care,
You
of
show
course.
attention,
Yes.
And that's the important part, Like Evan Stan as a dietitian back in the day, he was one of those guys that I trusted and they cared about, and he showed mad love. I mean, he would call me all the time, come check up on me, So that was one of the experiences I had with Stan, and I've definitely put him on anytime, anywhere, any place,
Thank you.
But so what do you think about these this whole thing? I'm gonna touch on some hot topics. What do you think about the industry of fat people? I'm just gonna say fat because it's what they are. Pushing the fat agenda. What do you think about like it's okay to be fat? Like that's that's the question I'm curious about.
The society is like almost like, how do we put it? Going backwards with a lot of things. I understand equality. We all want to. We all want to be treated equal. But like how they're promoting. Like models. Example. You go to Victoria's Secrets and now you can see a model. I just saw it the other day. There was 3 girls and the one in the middle was, I would say, borderline obese.
Yeah, the posters have definitely gotten a lot bigger to scale the scale the models.
And I get it. You're right. There is a market for that. But I think promoting, saying that it's okay to be fat or overweight, or I say unhealthy, that's not really the way to go.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the complications you get from, being overweight or clogged arteries or diabetes or...
Yeah, so I think that's, they're kind of embracing that it's okay to be fat, to be comfortable in your own skin.
But it's not okay.
I don't agree with that at all either.
Yeah, it's not okay. And we're not saying this from a place of hatred or anything like that. We're saying it from a place of caring. Like, these people are lying to you.
Right.
They're lying to you. They're showing you things that aren't okay. One, you're going to be more depressed, which we know you are. You're trying to cloak it, with like pouring like perfume on a pig or some kind of animal. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean like you're cloaking your own depression so you can live in it, Yeah. And that's what it is. And it's sad and it's awful and it's horrible. And I'm coming to you guys' defense here. I know it sounds like I'm being mean or something like that, but I think it's one of the most hurtful things, that they could do to society is to keep promoting something like this because it's not healthy and it's not attractive and it doesn't look good and it's not something that it means that you're a bad person. It's just you've gotten caught in a repetitive cycle. Like people get caught up in drugs. Drugs can happen to anybody. Same thing with food. It can happen to anybody. It's the same thing. You get caught in a cycle. Right?
If not, it could be worse. I would say, there's a lot more obese, out of shape, unhealthy people in the world than there are drug addicts.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the foods out there are like drugs, or just even people can't control the sugar. Sugar's like a drug.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many diabetics out there now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and they're just pushing it. Like, I mean, it's everywhere now. I mean, it's everywhere. No matter where I go, it's just something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't like pushing agendas. I don't like agendas in every I can't. I just think like we all know what's right. We all know in the back of our head what's right, and I think that's a big thing that's happened in this generation that's come after us. I feel like maybe we dropped the ball, or the weak and simp men made it there first.
Right.
They made it there first. Right. So they got to jam all this crap into your head.
Yeah.
It's not true,
Right.
And I'm like I said, it's just we know what's true. We know what's not true. And I think it's a dangerous path that people are allowing to, come into their life and just accept things that, it's like life is not fair. It never will be. Not everybody is equal. It's not always going to be like that. And, you don't always get what you deserve. Life is going to fuck you up. It's going to happen. And it's how you deal with those things.
Yeah.
How you come back from those things. That,
Yes.
Like, for me personally, on you, I'm sure, or anyone has gone through some serious, stuff in their life. And if we weren't able to mentally deal with that the correct way, we wouldn't be able to, apply it and be able to move forward.
Right.
So that's to me, that's very important. I think society is definitely changed up. I mean, what have you noticed is different about society today from where we were?
Well, like I was saying, it almost like feels like we're going backwards.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
It's almost like the access to information doesn't always help people. It's actually, they're learning, they're studying, they're interpreting wrong information. So it's like almost like, well, we'll just say on like the race topic, it's not a pretty topic that we want to talk about, but it's like, I feel like it's almost to the point where people are more racist now, more separated, more segregated than ever before.
Because they talk about it.
Not ever before. No, not, we're talking like 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, but within that, since then, I mean, I feel more people hate each other now than ever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the people that push it are the people that are consistently, watch out, folks. I'm telling you, the people that are pushing race, people that keep saying white, black. I mean, I never say those words in my daily vocabulary. Like, how often, do you? I never say those words.
Right.
I never, and the people that keep pushing it and pounding on your head and keep pounding on your head and keep pounding on your head, those are the ones that are creating the problems. So when you start hearing people say white male, African male, Hispanic male, Asian male, female, whatever, those are the ones that are actually causing the problems.
Right.
Those are the ones that are causing, because they keep putting that thought process in your head. That's my personal take on it. I don't like talking about it because it doesn't mean anything to me personally.
Right.
Like it's not in my life. I don't walk that way. I don't move that way. And it's a sure way to stay broke, you guys, because you're cutting off your resources on a daily. So like for me, I would always say don't watch the people who say white and black, or Asian or brown, or the people who say colors are the ones I would say stay away from them. Shut that off. It's just it's just noise. Because I go outside and I'm slapping hands with everybody. Everything is fine. If you get really mad in your phone, like, bro, listen, it's a comment, it's some little words on the screen. You look up 5 minutes later, you're not even going to be thinking about it. That's my, sorry to go on such a tangent, but that was such a big thing for me because it's like, man, like I lost a lot of friends, over what the news was doing,
Yeah.
I lost a lot, and that
I think
wasn't
we all
cool.
have. Yeah.
And it's just so people can get some jobs. Like I don't get it. I mean, I don't know, man. If you guys ain't smart enough to understand like how things work now, it's like there's not really any helping. I mean, my personal take on things. But
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know, but how do you feel about like how everything has been kind of like being guided into the that box and just pushing people that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad. It's like, all I think about really in reality is I stay in my lane, but I'm more concerned and worried about my kids.
Yeah.
How are they going to be raised? Obviously they have us as parents, and that's really important. But it really starts with the school system and the agenda that they're kind of push, and the things they talk about, and really just kind of keeping a good relationship with our kids and keeping an open line of communication so that they don't get influenced by the wrong thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wrong things out there, and it's so easily accessible because it's all on
That's
the
what
phone.
I'm saying. Yes.
Anything can be, because that algorithm works at what you're looking at, and so
Yeah.
you get an emotional spark for something you don't like, then you're gonna start scrolling into more things that you don't like. 'Cause that's how their algorithm works.
Absolutely.
Whatever emotion it can get out of you and the
Yes.
time they'll spend, it'll keep putting it in your
Yeah,
face.
it's pretty amazing. That's a whole another $1 billion industry that people don't realize is the whole SEO algorithm, all those type of things that, the accessibility of things that come up on your phone,
Yeah, and it'll take you down a very dark path if you don't.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to force yourself going back to comedies, back to lighthearted jokes, back to things. You have to go search for them and look for them and look for them, and then it's back on your phone.
Right.
But if you don't watch that, it'll take you down a dark
absolutely.
path. I mean, it'll like, even the race thing. They'll show you something that was racist, like two people. Then it'll find another video and show you that, and then it'll go down more, and then more, and then more, and the next thing you know, you think the whole world is racist. And that's just like, holy shit. Like, there's so many dangerous things that you have to watch out
crazy.
for. So that's what's important. Look up, man. Like, look up, look at the world, look at your surroundings.
Right.
And, I get it. There's a lot of fucked up people out there.
Oh yeah, I mean there always has been, but yeah, there's a lot of them. And as you get older, you start really noticing and realizing that.
Oh yeah, antennas come up. You become more aware.
Yes.
You stop caring as much. You start realizing what one person says out of 7 billion doesn't really matter.
Shit,
Like what people think about you really doesn't matter. And the people that believe in you are the ones that's the only thing that matters, are the people that believe in you and care for you and love you. That's the only thing. And I tell that all the time, and like people can do things for you to manipulate you into doing things for them. They'll pretend and kind of go that way, but that's a whole nother subject. But I don't know, man. It was very hard for me to see this transition. It was very hard on me, and it seemed like it all came during COVID too. Like, it all kind of came during that time.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what I really started noticing too. All these movements and these crazy things. And all power to you. It's great to stand for something, but I think a lot of times they're pushing the wrong thing.
Yeah, no shade. There's no hate because you're gonna push and get likes for whatever you want, and that's totally fine. I just, like I said, I'm not here to lie to you about how life really is. This is reality, folks. Like we're not here to, sugarcoat things and, give you the sprinkles with, the whipped cream and cherry on top. We're not going to do that, This is how you go out in the world and how you make it, So, for you, Stan, man, like you're an incredible human being, man. I don't know if people tell you that enough, man. Like, and even though I haven't seen you in 6 years, right?
Yeah.
6 years, man.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, we just still pop up and, chop it up like it's nothing. I love that, man. You know what I mean? Are you coming back to Golds anytime soon, or?
I don't know. I mean, the only reason why I would really go back to Golds would be to visit our good friend Charles Glass.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Shout out to Charles Glass. He's an amazing man. He's was my trainer all through my pro career, and I owe a lot to Charles. Charles is a great guy.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. I love Charles, man. Yeah, I want to see you back in there, man. Just hanging out. And stuff.
Yeah, I'd be down to go. Like if you're gonna be training there.
Yeah, we get a workout video.
Yeah, I would come.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my old stomping grounds too. I was there for so long. So
yeah. Yeah, well, man, Stan, it's been a pleasure having you, brother.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Dude, you're an amazing person, brother.
Thank you.
I say that not lightly because you're someone I could always call and just chop it up with.
That's
man.
right.
So, and I think your reputation precedes you, bro. I think a lot of people
Thank
think
you.
that. So, well, anyways,
Yeah,
it's been
man,
a blessing,
really-
brother. I appreciate you coming by, man. It's been incredible. All right, BDS TV. Yeah.
The Big Daddy